Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Max, and I've been hearing a lot of talk lately about the newer game consoles that have been coming out. I can't help but notice this wind of change, if you will, this major change that's going on when it comes to gaming as a whole. Before I go any further, I need to let you guys know I was born and raised at the dawn of the video game revolution. The very first game I played was Pac-Man. It was on the Atari 2600. That's how old school I go back. During that time of video games, getting on the rise from Atari to the Coleco to the Nintendo, PCs at the time were not really made for gaming. They could, don't get me wrong, they could. However, they weren't because a lot of people were using PCs for their work. They were using them for spreadsheets, for writing documents, you know, all those other things. Games that had scrolling were not present on the PC because programmers were not able to do it. They couldn't figure it out for a long time, which is why you saw games like Super Mario 3 or like Adventure of Link or any one of those side-scrolling games. You saw them exclusively on a game console because PC developers didn't know how to write the code so they can play it on a PC. It took Carmack and John Romero, the makers of Doom, before they even did all those games, they actually programmed a port of Super Mario 3. And at the time, that was considered revolutionary. That alone should tell you uh, how far behind PCs were compared to console gaming, which is why at the time consumers were still buying consoles. Time is starting to progress. PCs are starting to get a little bit better and better. People are starting to figure out that the PC can do a lot more and their games can be a lot better. They weren't affordable at that time. They were still it was very expensive and it's very uncommon for a household to even have a computer around those times until like around the birth of the internet, which was around 95. People started respecting the PC a little bit more. They started really paying attention to it as a new way of communication or doing any type of research. It was imperative for a household to at least afford a computer. And then people started to really pay more attention to like their gaming rigs. Before there were just towers, but now people started beefing up their computers. They started calling them gaming rigs. We saw a new revolution of how to play games with the PC instead of using like the Saturn, the PlayStation. Yet those systems were still doing good. People were because people were still accustomed to using a controller rather than the old keyboard mouse thing. So now let's fast forward this clock, okay? We're starting to see the original Xbox. The Xbox was a PC. You open it up, it had your video card, it had your memory, it had the hard drive. It was pretty much a PC in a smaller, compact form. We're starting to see these newer consoles. They're starting to look more and more like PCs. Essentially, they're pretty much are. I mean, they were all PCs to begin with, but as far as getting the components, they're almost these days interchangeable. So now we're coming into this new era or this new generation of gaming, if you will, or console gaming. We got the PS4. I just saw a video recently where the PS4 was barely keeping up with the new Unreal Engine. There was some frame rate issues. There was a lack of particles, a little bit of lack of detail. They had a side by side comparison between how a PC would run the Unreal 4 engine and how a PS4 would run the Unreal 4 engine. From what I'm reading, the specs on the PS4 is pretty much it's pretty much a PC that has maybe a quad core, maybe an 8 core processor, those are accessible, and eventually all those are going to drop in price. Same thing with the Xbox 720. I'm not sure if they're going to call it that, if they're going to call it anything else. These days the 720 is so common that they're just going to have to go with that name. I doubt they're going to call it something else. I don't know. I don't completely know all the specs or whatnot. I know it should be able to do exactly what the PS4 is, because it's all going to be about who's the better console and whatnot. One's going to offer features that the other one isn't going to offer, but at the same time, developers are going to make sure that the games look alike. So if one's less powerful than the other, guess what? That more powerful system is going to run a game that looks exactly the same on the lesser console. They're not going to do anything different, because they need to make sure that they're all printed and they're all published at a certain amount of time. They can't go back in and do any tweaks and whatnot. It's not possible. This has been said and done with console games with third-party developers for years. That was definitely the case between the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. They developed games, they pretty much look the same on both consoles. Granted, I always thought the Saturn seemed to run a little bit faster, and that's because the Saturn was just more powerful to begin with. Here's where I'm starting to see that the PC is finally becoming the real game console, or it's starting to make these consoles obsolete. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, the PC was not able to run those console games. They just weren't. Nobody was writing codes. Before, the PC couldn't do it. Now the PC can do it better. When these consoles come out, they're going to be overpriced. I guarantee it. The same money that you would use to buy those consoles, you can already take the PC that's in your house, that dual core PC that you're probably using to watch this video right now. You could probably take that, learn the system specs, upgrade the hardware, and then you have something that will match the power of that new game console that you're buying. Now, it may not. Now, suppose it can't do it. I guarantee you will at least meet the minimum requirements to run those games. So if you're on a budget, that might be a different option to look at, besides having to sell your fucking house just so you can buy both those damn consoles. Very soon, these consoles are going to be obsolete. And the funny thing about that is the PC isn't the one holding the shovel digging the graves for these things. It is the developers of said consoles. One, for example, we have the new 720 that's coming out. You cannot play that thing offline. Now you got the PS4. I don't have a whole lot to say about that. You can play it offline. That's great. But again, you're going to be spending a whole lot more money than you probably could just to upgrade your PC to minimum specs to at least run any game coming out in the near future. You can get a budget PC and you'll be able to run games no problem. Good example, my computer, my PC, okay? I bought this PC on clearance from Fry's, okay? Fry's Electronics. It's a local store in my neighborhood in San Diego. The specs on my tower, I'm running a AMD, it's an Athlon 64 quad-core processor at 2.9 gigahertz. My memory is 8 gigs DDR3. I was able to run Battlefield 3 on this without even buying a video card. Granted, it ran it kind of slow. So I went out and I got a video card. It was an AMD Vision Tech. It's an ATI graphics card. I believe it's a 2 gigabyte video card. I paid $80 for the video card and I paid $500 for the PC. So I spent $600 getting something that'll run Steam, and it'll run any game that's on the Xbox 360 and anything on the PS4. In fact, it runs it better than both the consoles that I have. Now, the only reason I keep the consoles is for exclusives, and I don't like to use my hard drive space too much. And not to mention, I bought both consoles before I even bought the PC. But now that I have it, I've been running the PC more than I've been running my consoles. My consoles are now collecting dust. Unless I want to play like some BioShock Infinite, or if I want to play like some Colonial Marines. The reason I even got BioShock Infinite on the PS3 was because the PC required 30 gigs. I have a 1 terabyte hard drive in there. I use all that space for videos or for video editing or doing visual effects. I need the memory, and I'm too cheap, or I don't have enough money to go out and buy another terabyte hard drive. I just don't. My PC right now, as is, will be able to run all those new games that are going to be coming out on the PS4 and the Xbox 720. Why? Because all those games that are coming out for those consoles are going to be coming out on current gen consoles. All those consoles are still going to get those games. Because of that, I know for a fact they're going to be developing those same games on the PC that will, and even my PC will run those games at minimum specs. I still will be able to play those games. And those games will look better on my PC than they will on my PS3 and my 720, or excuse me, my 360. With all that said, I've been a console gamer all my life. And it's hard for me to say this, but it is the truth. And we all have to face the truth sometimes. And the truth is, the consoles are becoming obsolete. What do you guys think about what I have to say? Go ahead and comment below. And if you're going to be negative about it, do so in a constructive manner, or just stay the fuck off this video. Until next time, this is Max. Stay true, stay you.